This is WBSM On Demand.
It's time for SouthCoast Now with Chris McCarthy. Streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Text us using App Chat on the WBSM app. Now, Chris McCarthy.
Good morning. Welcome to the third and final hour of the program for the week. I want to thank Mr. Charles Mauta, a Democrat state committee man running for re-election. Look, he's a very nice guy. I understand why he wins elections. Very nice guy. He brought me in a T-shirt. He was talking about the T-shirts he had made for the police academy. He brought me in a T-shirt after the interview, so I'll take that as a positive sign. I'm glad he enjoyed his appearance, and I found him very interesting, and I'll probably have him back because he knows a lot that's gone on in this area over time, and I can always use Democrats who are willing to come on the program because I like to have opposing points of view. But again, I appreciate Mr. Charles Mauta for coming on and talking about his re-election bid for the Democrat State Committee. And right now there's early voting, so he'll be on the ballot with the other Democrats if you're taking that ballot. He has an opponent, Leon Corey, who was here yesterday. If you missed that interview, again, I think Mr. Corey had a nice interview with me as well. I think he had a good experience. I know I did. Enjoyed him as well. You can hear those podcasts as well if you missed any of the radio program. All right. Now we're joined by my friend and longtime friend, the former Bristol County Sheriff, Tom Hodgson. Tom, how are you?
I'm glad you remember my name.
So
it's great to be here, Chris. Thank you so much.
We had a nice talk. He was remembering, Charles was remembering you. I think you had a chance to see him in the hallway.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he would reach out and do things with us at the sheriff's office to try to, enhance public safety in the community, and was very active in, I think, the Bullitt Street Neighborhood Association.
Yeah.
So he's definitely somebody who's interested in the well-being of the people of the community, and that's regardless of what your party is.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, that's what public service is supposed to be about.
So early voting is coming up. You are the chairman of the Donald Trump for President campaign here in Massachusetts. You have a rally coming up this weekend. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, this Sunday we have a caravan rally that's going to, it's called America First, Get Out the Vote Trump Caravan, which is going to be starting at the USS Constitution Museum at 10:30 on Sunday morning, and it will be caravanning over to Castle Island, which is a beautiful ending to the caravan. But what's great about it is we've got a whole host of people coming down from New Hampshire to join us, and it's such an important message about getting out the vote.
Right.
People, if ever there was an election, Chris, that I know you get it, that is so important to us at this time in history, and really maybe in the history of our country.
Right.
It's now, and no more for people to say, "Oh, I don't like this, I don't like that." Let your voice be heard, because if you don't, then you actually are the reason why you have the problem that you're complaining about.
Yeah, right? I mean, apathy. What I find interesting, Tom, is you have an incredible enthusiasm for President Trump. And locally, the people who are supporting Nikki Haley are very enthusiastic about her. And the past 2 days, I've had two candidates for Democrat State Committee, Leon Corey and now Mr. Mauta. Neither of them were very enthusiastic about President Biden, who's going to be their candidate.
Yeah, and I think...
Do you think that's translating down to the grassroots?
I do.
Right? I mean, these two gentlemen are grassroots Democrats, right? Local guys. Maude is very active in elected locally in Mattapoisett. Mr. Corey is the chairman of the Board of Selectmen here in Fairview. You can't get any more grassroots than that. Yet, you don't sense the enthusiasm for the president the way there is for President Trump.
You know, I commend them for being thoughtful about who should lead this nation at this time in history. And what he's essentially doing, and to his credit, and to a lot of Democrats. I had an individual come up to me and say, you know, my family's voted for Democrats all my life, but every one of us are voting for President Trump. And it's not about the person they're voting for. It's about them wanting to make a difference for their kids, their grandkids, and the future of this neighborhood, this nation, and the quality of life in their neighborhoods. And so I commend those people, and I would if it were a different situation where the situation were reversed, where you had somebody on the Republican side that wasn't really at this point in their life competent to make decisions, be at meetings, be active, moving things forward and stopping the problems that are happening in our nation. I would, as a Republican, if that were the case, which it isn't this time, obviously, but if it were reversed, I think I'd be irresponsible. And I don't know how I could look my kids and my grandkids in the eye and say, you know, I knew this person wasn't able to do things. I know the country was spiraling downward when I had the chance to change it, and I didn't, because I got caught up in what they want everybody to get caught up in, and that's partisanship, and keep people apart from each other so that we never do have a united America. We just have two groups that are constantly beating each other up. And so I commend those who have said, hey, look, I'm not enthusiastic. There's a reason why they're not enthusiastic. They could be. Right. There could be some things motivating them to feel good, but they're not.
The fact of the matter is the big issue is illegal aliens, illegal immigration. You have been on the front lines of this issue since you first became the sheriff of Bristol County back in the 90s, when it was a little bit of a problem, but it was interesting how far we've come. Now, recently we had the very high-profile murder of a beautiful young lady in Georgia by an illegal alien, allegedly, and you had that happen right here in Bristol County. You testified about it. Talk about your experiences with dealing with these criminal illegal aliens.
Look, I've been working on this issue for 25 and a half years, dealing with Congress who really have failed on both sides of the aisle to uphold the rule of law until they decide to change it to something different. They've never created legislation that would change it to enhance more people to be able to come legally or what have you. But more to the point, to your point, Chris, I've talked to so many and worked with so many angel moms and dads from California to here who lost their children senselessly at the hands of people who, frankly, this administration is encouraging to come here, right? And that the policies in Washington, even with the lack of action on the part of Congress, who failed to deal with it, have basically turned their backs on all these moms and angel moms and dads. I remember them we were down at the Capitol, and several of them wanted to go in and talk with Senator Warren. She wouldn't talk with them. Even if you don't want to agree with them or come up with some solution, you owe it to those families. You're an elected representative of the people. You owe it to them, at least for no other reason than to say, I'm sorry about your loss. But they don't care. And this administration's 10 times worse, because I've heard this president say, well, the reason he hasn't done it, give me the money, give me the power. Well, first of all, you had the power when you were in the Senate, right? Number one. But number two, since you've been president, right? And you claim that it's Congress's fault. And you go back to the partisan stuff, which tries to divide people. Right. The American people finally figured it out. Look, when Donald Trump was in there, he had the same problem. Yep. Congress hadn't done anything to change it, but he did. He did it. He did. So this idea of trying to deflect to say, well, give me the power, give me the money, is a lot of hogwash. Okay, because you know what? You undid everything President Trump did to keep those borders secure, and you decided, You got rid of everything. You wouldn't let them continue building the wall. None of that. And then you turn around now 3 years later when our neighborhoods are overrun with people. Fentanyl is pouring into our country, killing our kids and loved ones. And you're basically trying to point the finger somewhere else? No. The buck stops with him.
We had Democrat Congressman Jake Auchincloss on here, and he's on the subcommittee on China, the special committee on China, and he said it right here on the air that the Chinese communists are working hand in glove with the cartels in Mexico to flood this country with fentanyl. It is part of the communist national policy to kill the young men and women of the United States of America with fentanyl. And they're doing it, and also they don't mind the hard cash, which helps fund their other operations. They're working with organized crime to flood this country. And it seems to me like the President of the United States is asleep at the switch.
Well, yeah, and I mean, they had a police station in New York, a Chinese police station, right, that was operating undercover. But this is exactly what people need to ask themselves, in my view, the listeners, all of us. Why would China, which we know are involved in the whole fentanyl thing, but why are they sending all these illegal immigrants into our country in droves?
Yes.
Thousands.
It's an invasion.
Right? Of course it is. And if all those people, we said this before, Chris, you and I, if they were, all those people that are pouring in this country wearing military uniforms, our entire military would be on our border saying, where do you think you're going? Right. But what they're doing is they're coming in undercover without their uniforms.
You know what, Tom, do you remember back to the 1980s, the movie Red Dawn, when they talk about the invasion by the communists into America, they talk about the Russians came in on civilian jet airliners and landed special forces, and then, that's how they got into the country. It literally looks like that to me. They're just walking up into the country, and it seems like we're all treating these Chinese and these Nicaraguans and the Venezuelans as if they're just normal everyday civilians, but it's clear they're not.
Right. And look, if you're gonna come here illegally from Russia and China, you telling me there's no countries you could have illegally gone into on your way here?
Right.
It's so obvious what's going on here.
Right. It's an organized state invasion.
There's no question about it. Right. And it's a way to infiltrate our society under this sort of welcoming mat. Right. So it doesn't make it appear that that's what's going on. But these people have every will to try to divide our communities, our nation, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're tearing apart our culture and our values and our virtues around what
there are more
started
people
this country
hitting the shores of America than Americans and NATO members, the Western powers, landed on the beaches of Normandy. Right. There are more people landing on the beaches of America, landing on the shores of America, than American soldiers landed in Normandy. I mean, how do you not see this as an invasion?
Yeah.
And the only thing we can do is vote.
Right.
Seems almost inconsequential, but it's not.
No, it's not. It's absolutely the answer to taking our country back and stopping these people from invading our neighborhoods and putting burdens on our hospitals, our medical care, on our schools, on our quality of life in our neighborhoods, all of that.
508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the program. Speak with former Sheriff of Bristol County, Tom Hodgson. The sheriff is the chairman of the Massachusetts campaign for Donald Trump to bring the president back. We've had 4 years of Biden. Do you think it's time for a reset? I do. All right, let's take a couple calls. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Hi, Sheriff.
Good morning, caller.
I know you're a very good person because you came to my mother's funeral years ago, and I was surprised. So,
but those are important moments.
Is concerned, it's not him making the decisions; it's his handlers. Because you watch this poor man, and he's not there.
Right.
He's got teleprompters in front of him, and he can't even read those. So how can somebody say he's competent?
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, caller. And the truth is, if he's president of the United States, though, ultimately that's the ultimate decision that has to be made by the person that is serving as president regardless of what his advisors, you have to be able, because you're going to have conflicting points of view from your advisors, from your military advisors and people like that on strategies. And you have to be ultimately the one that weighs all that. And then as President of the United States makes that decision. As you say, with all due respect, he doesn't, at this point in his life, doesn't have that capacity anymore. And I think it's obvious to most Americans we have to make change.
Folks, I have 2 phone lines open. If you'd like to speak to Tom Hodgson, he's here in studio, or ask me a question. 508-9960. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
A girl in love with a gleam in your eye. Was a younger boy all dressed in white. Whoa, tonight, I bet you still think about me. I remember we learned about love in the back of a Chevrolet. Well, it felt so good to be up. Feels like yesterday.
Well, if you have a Chevy or a Volvo, whatever you have, I want you to head over to Mac Auto Sales, 188 Rivet Street, New Bedford. Or if you're looking for a really quality used car, head over to Mac Auto Sales, Rivet Street, New Bedford. They repair all makes and models. If you need to winterize your car or get it ready for the spring and summer, you can call them at 508-565-6221. Conveniently open weekdays 9 to 5. Again, if you have a foreign car, they repair foreign cars. They specialize in those. We bring Natalie's BMW there. Ask about their aftermarket accessories and those quality used cars. Tell them Chris McCarthy sent you. Mac Auto Sales right here in New Bedford. All right, Tom, let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hi, Chris and Tom. How are you?
Good morning, caller.
Good. Hey, so one quick thing is, so the Chinese are doing a reverse of the opium wars that they went through in the 1800s to us. And I don't know if many people know, but
Jay Auchincloss mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, the British and the French were importing 7,000 metric tons of opium into China, and were subjugating the people in these opium dens. And the Chinese fought hard to repel the British and the French and to stop the subjugation of their people. They're using that exact strategy with us, with fentanyl. But I wanted to ask you, yesterday was a debate on the border, like literally. You had Biden on one screen and you had Trump on the other screen, and even though they weren't physically debating, you could watch what was the debate in real time. I just question is how did you think it went, and the messaging that you were hearing between Trump and the Texas governor and what Biden was saying, and I'll go from there.
Thanks for the call.
Well, in a nutshell, thank you, caller. In a nutshell, from my perspective, I think most people saw that you had the chance to hear from somebody who had taken steps to fix the border problem. President Trump, and somebody who had no clue, who had actually caused the problem and undid everything that he had done, right, which now is the formula that led to the decline in America that we're all feeling in our communities, right, with regards to rising costs, the healthcare stuff, the schools, the drugs pouring into our neighborhoods, all this. And so it was a very stark difference where people could see what doesn't work and what did work and can work again.
508-996-0500.
Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good morning. Thanks for calling us gentlemen. Nobody ever does that.
Yeah, well, I like to be respectful when I can, I just want to make a point. I just want to say that I am terrified not terrified, but it really weighs on me, the people that that are coming into this country, and the illegal operatives and all the people we don't know. And I honestly believe in my heart that there's going to be some sort of terrorist attack, whether it's on the power grid or something to that effect, because the East Coast hub, the West Coast hub, and the Midwest, they'd be able to get at it. And it wouldn't take much for them to shut down the United States, and, with very little, with a coordinated effort, with just bodies, you know what I mean? And when it happens, if it does happen, God willing, I hope it doesn't, Biden better be held responsible, and all these Democrats that let it all happen, because I really have a feeling that these military-age males that are coming in, that something is being planned and something that is going to happen, because there are a lot of enemies that like to come at us, and I really have a bad feeling about that. I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you.
Thank you for the call. Sheriff, what do you think of that?
From a law enforcement perspective, and someone who intimately knows about how quickly something like that can happen. I mean, I was on the front steps of the Capitol when the planes hit.
Right, 9/11.
On 9/11, and then was down at Ground Zero with my staff for we were down there for 5 weeks on the rescue effort. But and the Zarnaev, one of the Zarnaev brothers, the younger one, was going to my daughter's hair salon and lived about a quarter mile from where I am.
It's incredible. And
Right.
our friend Hank Turgeon was part of the extrication team over there. They raided the place.
But the thing is, to the caller's point, those are people who one of the Zarnaev boy was supposed to be going to UMass. He was never showing up for class, and I confronted Janet Napolitano about that. She said, "Oh no, we're checking on these things." Well, obviously they weren't.
Right.
And the system can't control where these people are. But those are people who were plotted and planned, like the 9/11 terrorists. They were plotting that since '93 when they first bombed it. But they're very patient people.
Right.
Those were people in smaller groups that were planning this. What about the people now pouring in and by the hundreds, and well, soon will be probably 1,000 known terrorists who are in our country that got away?
Sheriff, one of the things, that gentleman, he's right. I have those same concerns. I know you do. But I always think an ounce of prevention is better than the cure, right? What does it matter after all the Americans are dead after another 9/11 type attack, or the Chinese, make a war here, right in our country?
Who gets
We
one?
can prevent it by voting.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, really, we have an election coming up in November. We have a presidential primary. It's going on right now. If you're in the sound of my voice, you can go to your city hall or your town hall and vote right now early in the Republican primary. We have the chairman of the Trump campaign right here, but we have a lot of enthusiastic Nikki Haley supporters here in Massachusetts. It's going to be very interesting. But really, people have to get out and vote. Right,
and that's exactly right, Chris. And wouldn't you want to be someone who said, wow, I know by doing what I did, I've really reduced the chances of any kind of a terrorist attack happening in my neighborhood?
Right.
Who would have thought, I mean, the people I described already were going to be amongst us. But the truth is, it really is about vote. Get out there and vote, because you don't want to look back and tell your kids or some family member that got killed at the hands of terrorists,
right,
you had the chance to do something to stop it. But down the road, this thing was able to happen because I didn't care enough to go out and make a difference.
508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding. Hello, you're on the air. Good morning, you're on the air. I guess that person's not on the air. Good morning, you're on the air.
Sorry, you got stuck with me.
It's okay.
Everyone else bailed out.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
The thing I have, it's very local, but I imagine a lot of communities throughout the nation are dealing with. We're having, on a weekly basis, it seems, teenagers, 14, 17, out with guns and drugs in the streets, shooting each other and whatnot. And obviously it's deliberate attempt to not have the people that are older end up in jail, people running the network, let's say. Shouldn't there be a law that if they don't, disclose who they got the drugs and guns from, that they are treated as an adult? Like, something needs to be done because that's what's happening. What could we do differently?
Sheriff, thanks for the call. Sheriff, well, you dealt with that when you ran the House of Correction in the prison. Youthful offenders doing the crimes for their masters, really.
Yeah, and they should be held accountable, no question about it. It's happening more and more, of course, and a lot of these younger kids are making a lot of money and these people know it,
right?
And that's the whole carrot for them is to be able to make the money. So they should be. Look, accountability is the reason we're having these problems. There isn't accountability anymore, and then we have these woke DAs in some parts of the country who are just basically letting people off and saying, "Hey, the people that commit the crimes are really the victims, and the true victims aren't really the victims."
We've been lucky so far. other counties in Massachusetts have gotten those woke DAs, and I don't know why Bristol County has been spared, except that people get out and vote.
Right.
They get out and vote.
Right.
And so it's very, very important that you get out and vote, folks. So you've got a really kind of cool car rally going on this coming Sunday. Explain it, sir.
So this Sunday, it's going to start at the USS Constitution. We encourage everybody that wants to come.
Is there a group driving up from this region?
Oh, big time.
What time?
They'll probably be leaving around 9 o'clock from 9:15 from the Burger King on 24.
Okay.
Just beyond Taunton. And we have people coming down from New Hampshire. We have people coming from all over the state. And it's America First, Trump Get Out the Vote caravan. And we expect it to be a huge, huge event and a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
It's going to start from the USS Massachusetts at 10:30. We'll start caravanning over to Castle Island, and we should be done by 12:30 at the latest.
Soon you'll be doing phone banking for the Trump campaign. You have, the rallies, for instance, Fairhaven used to have a great rally almost every week, right by the VFW appropriately, right there by the bridge. You were there.
Yeah.
I was there. A lot of the people in my audience. When can we anticipate those starting up again?
Those will probably start up, I would say, maybe within a month after the primary.
Okay.
So we're talking probably sometime in April.
Okay.
And then they'll be going on. There are some already happening all over the state, out Western Mass and all over. So we're seeing.
People want to get plugged into what's going on with the Trump campaign. Because, look, let's face it. Nikki Haley, while she made a good effort, I think she'll end up being somewhere in the Trump campaign, somewhere in the Trump cabinet. Because that's just the way it goes. I don't think there's much hope for her to win Massachusetts or to even get the nomination. So really what we're talking about now is consolidating for President Trump and getting together. So, I know I'm speaking to the converted here. You're the chairman of it, but do you think that analysis is correct? I
think it is. And I think, look, the Nikki Haley people, will hopefully most of them will jump on board and realize that, look, this is about unity for America and getting the, if your candidate doesn't win, that's the time to jump on board, as all the other candidates who were running against the president have, and help to unite America again. And you don't always have to agree. Everybody didn't agree with me on some of the policies I had or whatever, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. That's what America's about. But when it comes time, in the end, we all want to unite and make sure that we're doing what we believe is right for the future generations. And people can find us and get information to be involved by going to MASS, the number 4, Trump 2024.com. That's MASS, the number 4, Trump 2024.com. And they will find on that website, it'll show there's a contact page on there. You can email us if you want, but you can also see all the different events and activities and how you can get involved as a volunteer.
And you have a Facebook page as well?
We do, and that's MA, the number 4, Trump 2024. And that also will interlink with the Mass site as well.
I just want to contrast your enthusiasm with the two gentlemen I've had the last 2 days, both running for Democrat State Committee point. They're both hardcore Democrats, and nothing wrong with that. And they don't have the enthusiasm for President Biden. And in fact, Mr. Mata, who was just here, said, well, what else are you going to? There's no other choice, and it's too late, and probably should have decided a long time ago to not have Biden. It was, I appreciated his honesty, and I hope he does too, that I appreciate it, because it was not a ringing endorsement, and I don't blame him, because there's not a lot to get excited about.
Yeah, and Chris, I worked directly with the president on a number of different issues down in Washington, and my enthusiasm isn't just for him winning the race as president. It's more about what I know he's accomplished and what I know he will do. My enthusiasm for America and to take it back. That's where my enthusiasm is. And I think that's what's happening with Democrats, independents, and Republicans across the country now. We're saying, we know what was done. We know what's possible. And the fact that he didn't win in 2020 in some ways may have been a blessing, because when President Biden came in, he had the chance to continue to the border policies and other things.
That's right.
But he's been basically absent in so many different ways as a leader of this nation. And so by that loss, having known what President Trump was able to accomplish by making decisions, being there night and day, taking questions nonstop without, note cards and all the other things that have to be there. And people got a chance, because he didn't get elected, to see the real stark difference between what America can be and what America is right now. And so that in some ways might have been a blessing for us, as much as I would have liked him to win then. I was chairman back then as well. But the truth is, here we are. It's our time in history, and all of us were chosen to take America back. And this is the decision we now are left with.
Folks, stick around. 508-996-05. That's how you can get on the program. Tom Hodgson's here in the studio with me taking your calls. And if you'd like to make a comment about the state of the nation or anything like that, we'd be happy to hear from you. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Chris McCarthy. We have Tom Hodgson here in studio. Tom, I'd be remiss to point out, if I didn't point out, that your wife is on the ballot, presidential ballot. She's on the ballot for the state committee woman for this district. So if you're pulling a ballot for the Republican Party in Dartmouth, Fairhaven, city of New Bedford, Mattapoisett, or the town of Acushnet, you'll see Joanne Hodgson's name on there for Republican state committee woman.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of her. She's wanting to participate and help.
She's right for that job, too. Very organized person.
Yes, she is.
Go-getter, really gets things done.
She's worked around campaigns, obviously. And, but importantly, it's that party is the position for the party, the state committee woman and state committee man are really supposed to, recruit people to get involved, to do everything they can to connect the national and state parties together to advance the public interest. And so she's always had a real liking for doing that and been very invested in it. Going back to the days of Doc Walsh.
I was going to say, all the way back. She really knows politics.
She used to help Doc Walsh when he was running for school committee. So she's...
experienced. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
She'll be good for that job.
She will.
And good for the party, which is good for America. The nomination pay, if you want to run for state office, folks, state representatives, county commissioner, state senator, those nomination papers are available now, and you've still got some time to collect signatures. Tom, if someone was thinking about running for state representative, as an example, on the Republican ticket, what do they have to do to get involved?
Well, you have to take out papers.
Right.
Obviously.
I mean,
That's
just you have to do it, right?
Yeah, you've got to do it. Just do it. And then the next thing is, you have to have the fire in your belly to want to make a difference, right? But importantly, the way to do it is to go out and meet people, knock on people's doors, ask them what are the most important things for you and your family right now. What are the things that you think are going well, and what are the things that aren't going well that you would want me to represent? Mm-hmm. You don't always have to make it about the person that is in there that you're running against.
Right.
Make it about what matters to those people, right? What's important to you? Because that's why you're running, is to find ways to make the government work for people. So ask them the questions, and they'll tell you. By the time you're knocking on enough doors, if you're working it really hard, you're going to pick up the 3 or 4 most important things that most people feel.
Right.
And you can know that you can talk about that and target it, because that's a priority.
Republicans look like they're going to have some candidates, local office in this region. Kelly Dooner, I think, is a very good candidate, president of the city council in Taunton. She comes down here. She's running for the seat currently occupied by Mark Pacheco, the state Senate seat. So
there's another Republican running too up there.
It's going to be a primary.
There will be, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And
who is it?
Steve Tech. Oh, boy, come on.
That's not your fault, Tom.
No.
If you're running
I
for
know
office
it's
and
my
we don't
age,
know your
right?
name, that's your fault. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll
That's all right. So I think Evan Genro is going to run for the rep seat. I haven't heard.
He's run before.
He's
Yep.
run before.
So
he's in the listening tour phase right now of that seat. That is part of Acushnet. That is all of Freetown, part of New Bedford, part of Fall River, all of Westport. That seat is currently occupied by Representative Schmidt. I also believe that we'll have a Republican candidate here in Fairhaven, Mattapoisett, Marion.
I believe Bob McConnell's running.
Bob McConnell's running for state representative in the seat currently occupied by Representative Bill Strauss. So that'll be very interesting. So, folks, there is a lot going on locally for Republican candidates. The Kelly Dooner race that's a state Senate race. That is Carver, Marion, Wareham. You'll have a Republican on the ballot. And Tom says we might even have a Republican primary. Personally, Sheriff, I think primaries are good for parties. It makes the candidate stronger, gets rid of the weakness in your campaign, and gets you ready to go up against a Democrat. Look, there's plenty of resources out there for the Republicans. If they run quality campaigns, the money will get there. Personally, I'd like to see every seat occupied by the Democrats have a couple of Republicans running in the primaries, and then have the strongest one face them in November.
Yeah, and that's healthy,
Right?
Because
It's called democracy.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly. It was meant for people to see what candidate seems to be most in line and is most informed about the things that matter to them, and that's why I say get out there and talk to the people so that you're the most relevant.
508-996-0500. We've had some people on hold. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
Yes, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good morning, caller.
Just a couple of quick points. The first one is, I don't know if you gentlemen saw this. There was I guess it was on TikTok. I saw it on my phone the other day. It's
I
some
don't
young
use
man
TikTok,
from
but
some young. I would never subscribe to it. I'm just saying it came up on my phone, right? Because
Okay.
I do YouTube. And
Oh, I get
anyway,
it.
right. And so I saw the video, and it's a young man from Brazil, Venezuela, I believe. And he's got a young baby in his hand, probably 6-7 months. It's his. I believe it's his daughter. I don't know for sure. It's just a small baby. And anyway, he's just bragging about how good he's done. You know, he has no intention of working. This is my meal ticket. And I'm like,
I saw the
found it
video.
nauseating.
I saw the video. He says this baby made me an American citizen. She pays our rent. She pays our food because of all the benefits he gets because he has an anchor baby here in America. Oh, it's outrageous.
And
It was nauseating.
And to the caller's point, that's a real live thing that's happening,
Right.
where people are trying to get women pregnant so they can say they have an anchor baby to be able to stay and not have the laws apply.
And you can bet your life that video is going to make its way back to his home country. And it's like it's almost like he's a travel agent. You know?
Yes, I appreciate. Thanks for the call, sir, and I appreciate that observation. We had more calls.
The
here.
candidate you were talking about is in Taunton is Steve Torres.
Steve
Republican.
Torres.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he a lawyer?
I believe he is, and he's been around for
He's
quite
been
some
around.
time. Yeah.
No, I know him as a lawyer.
Yeah, he's well known. Yeah.
Steve Torres, a good guy.
Yes. Yes.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So there'll be a Republican primary
Yes, there will.
in that district.
Yes, there will.
Wow, that's very interesting. All right, folks, let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Hi,
Doing
caller.
Just a quick question. I've heard on WBSM that there are worrisome people out there that believe that having Trump at the top of the ticket will hurt, and this kind of goes to what Chris was talking about earlier. All your down ticket races, that it'll hurt them, and the reason why I bring that up is Donald Trump has been very unsuccessful in endorsements in the past, 2018 and 2022, obviously, and along with 2020. What's your game plan to not allow that to happen? So basically, there's been a good track record of him not being a winner down ballot and hurting candidates. What is in Massachusetts? What's your game plan?
Legitimate
Make sure
question.
that doesn't
Legitimate
happen.
question.
No, it's a great question. Well, obviously, to keep pointing out that it's not so much about the person Donald Trump as it is about what he's accomplished. And I think if most people really looked at what President Trump had to deal with going in. From day one, the Washington Post said when he first took office, this is the beginning of the impeachment of Donald Trump. So they were already setting up and rallying to try to destroy his reputation and make it difficult. And that's what they want people to believe, that somehow he's going to hurt their elections or the country or whatever it is. But the truth is, look, when you stand up and you're a leader that's willing to challenge things, you're going to get people that don't care for you.
As Donald Rumsfeld once famously said, you go to war with the army you got.
Yeah.
Not the army you want. You go to war with the army you got.
Yeah.
And the voters will have spoken. My opinion, my forecast, and I think it's the sheriff's as well, is that Donald Trump will be the nominee.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to war with the army we have.
Yeah, and the way, as the caller was asking, how do you deal with that, is to remind everybody and get into the conversations about do you have a problem with paying $7.10 for a pound of butter?
Right.
Are you upset with what gas prices used to be? Are you does it bother you about some of your friends and neighbors whose kids died at the hands of fentanyl overdoses?
Right.
And people their quality of life being taken over in their neighborhoods and waiting in emergency rooms when you're there,
right.
Laying in a bed, as you well know, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
In a hallway in the emergency room for 3 days because you can't get a bed because you have people who violated our laws occupying beds. And by the way, we have some locally who are actually, one person's was there for 8 weeks, still is, I think, who could have been cleared 8 weeks ago but can't be released because they don't have a permanent address to go to, and by law they can't be released just out of the hospital like that. And so for 8 weeks, you got a bed occupied that Americans, citizens, and legal residents can't get access to and have to lay in a hallway in an emergency room.
It's absolutely outrageous, folks. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Everyone's watching to see what you do. Everyone's looking at you.
Everyone is looking at the voters this time around, right, Tom?
Absolutely.
Early voting has started, so if you're a Republican, go get a ballot. If you're a Democrat, go get a ballot. If you're unenrolled, you have to make a choice, one or the other.
Right.
One or the other. But you think the enthusiasm within the Republican Party here in Massachusetts for Donald Trump is overwhelming?
Oh, there's no question about it. No question about it. And we're seeing, as I said earlier, rallies that have already been going on for quite some time.
And by the way, there's a rally for Nikki Haley at the Sheraton in Boston tomorrow, Saturday, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Go on, look at the Haley campaign websites. They'll give you more information about that, but I just want to be fair that Nikki Haley has a rally. I don't know if she's going to be there.
Yeah, she is.
She is, okay. In Boston tomorrow night, the Sheraton show. That ought to be a very interesting event. And we wish Nikki Haley the best, and we on the Trump side are going to beat her, but then we hope she joins up in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and I think I can't imagine she wouldn't, because I think she shares a lot of the values that President Trump does.
We wouldn't know her name if it wasn't for President Trump making her the ambassador.
Right. But in her own right, she was a good governor down in South Carolina. But it's I think most people realize that this is really down to a choice of who can really make the difference, who's got a proven record of doing it, and it's clear that Donald Trump is the person that we've seen be able to get us to a better place.
Tom, you've been paying attention to politics for a long time. You've been part of politics for a long time. Do you ever remember another governor besides Governor Healy having to declare a state of emergency while President Biden was in office over illegal aliens? I mean, it's never happened before.
No. And
how is she handling it?
Not well.
Not well.
But then again, she's part of the problem because she's encouraged people to come here. She's always been pro-illegal.
Tell us the story.
Pro-illegal aliens.
You're on one side of the border, the American
I'm
side.
down at the processing station working with CBP's Customs Border Patrol and ICE on how are we going to deal with this stuff that I've been talking about for 25 years is going to impact our neighborhoods. Here we are. And at the very same day, she was on the other side of the border in Mexico, the very same day, telling people how wrong it was that the United States wasn't allowing them to come in here illegally. And then here we are. She's been very pro-illegal, pro-sanctuary city, which has been a draw. And now when all hell breaks loose, which I've been talking about for 25 years, she's pointing the finger somewhere else and saying, it's not my fault, it's somebody else.
She literally sued the Trump administration to stop the construction of the wall.
Yes, she did.
She used Massachusetts state resources to sue to stop the construction of the wall.
Yeah, and she was, I believe she enjoined herself in more lawsuits against Donald Trump than any other AG in the entire United States. Look, she's clearly driven by partisan politics. She always has been, and she always will be. She's always looking to climb the ladder, and unfortunately, that's at the expense of people she promised to represent, and we're paying for it.
Right. And the only thing you can do, folks, is either run for state representative or, depending on the district, run for state senate, or get out and support one of those candidates on the Republican side.
Yeah, and bring balance back to Massachusetts. It doesn't, just bring balance back. So we have two sides that we can talk about and not feel like people have to buy into another person's positions to get the small little pittance that they can get on the issues that matter to all of us.
Sheriff, we're out of here. Again, where's the rally? What do people do?
Rally on Sunday. It's going to start at the USS Constitution, 10:30 in the morning in Boston.